looks like we have Devon here. Let's go, Devon.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I had to switch on to my phone. My Wi-Fi wasn't quite working. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for joining us. So I have a bit of a longer question. So specifically Calgary, like you said, has this perfect synergy of a highly educated population. We have a wealth of existing energy infrastructure. And on the flip side, we have a younger population that's leaving because we're not taking advantage of these things. I started off with the general question of how can we kind of leverage these things that we have to make this transition to technologies like geothermal heat and energy and the methane from, or hydrogen from methane production like you talked about. How can we become the Silicon Valley kind of energy? It's kind of what I thought about. Like, why is that not happening yet? Was my first question. So.
Yeah, great question. I mean, so there is there's a lot of opportunity for sure, but there are also a lot of barriers, right? So, I guess even just more fundamentally, like when you think about building up essentially a new industry, you need to have the idea. It needs to be, there needs to be a business case there, but you also need to have investors and people that, see that as an opportunity. And so historically, and in almost every example that we can look at, and even in our own backyard, in the case of the oil sands, what really started off that industry was some pretty significant government investment and kind of government showing that this could work, and then investors come in on the back end of that. And so since you mentioned Silicon Valley, people have for many years talked about, well, why can't we get more of the venture capital model that, is what has proven somewhat successful for, a lot of the tech companies into some of these, more like infrastructure and chemicals and oil and gas and energy space. And it's quite hard, right? That model for a lot of different reasons, but, one of which just like the scale of funding that's required and the timescales isn't necessarily a good match. And so there's really, a pretty significant role for government to play in kind of kickstarting these industries. And so that's where, I think I think is one of the big things to have happen. I mean, obviously you need entrepreneurs that are bringing forward these ideas and that are willing to work towards it, but it's a long uphill road if you don't get some kind of support in bringing these projects and these new ideas, kind of at least proving them out and bringing them to the market ready to invest in.
Okay. And then to follow up with that, say in a year from now, let's hope that the coronavirus is ending, and say that we don't get all the stimulus money that we're hoping for, and we're sitting where we are in a year. What's something that, for example, the Calgary Climate Hub could do to bring the ball forward a year from now? Great question.
Excellent question. Yeah, I mean, I think, municipalities and the city have a big role to play, right? And so Calgary, has a lot that it can do, I think, to have an impact. Everything from, from its own energy production and consumption with NMAX, but procurement processes are a pretty powerful way of starting to drive innovation. And so making sure that, generally speaking, government procurement is pretty risk adverse, and for good reasons, right? You want to make sure that when you're spending public money, you're not taking big risks and you're getting, good value and trustworthy things for your money. But that said, sometimes that can lead to procurement approaches that are sort of focused on always buying, yesterday's technology because for sure that works. And so, certainly there's municipalities that have flex that kind of procurement arm to look at greening up their own operations beyond even the electricity piece, which then also helps to provide that pull and create opportunities for businesses, and also signal more broadly to the investment community that this is a place that is going to be fruitful for doing that kind of work. So I think definitely working with the municipal government to find those opportunities where they can make procurement decisions or other investment decisions that are going to be cost savings, but then also thinking about those other benefits.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much, Devon. Devon is a Calgary Climate Hub board member and has also been a Climate Hub member on its own as well, and part of the fight for climate in this city. Thanks for participating, Devon.
See you guys.
I feel like